Here's one towards the goal. That's going to be gloved by Travis Ridgen. Well, this is more like it.
This is Slangin The Bizkit. Here's Travis Ridgen and Dave Wheeler.
Fresh pots.
Man, there is an old clip of so Dave Grohl, who is one of my favorite musicians of all time. He played in a band with Josh Homme from Queens of the Stone Age and John Paul Jones, bass player from Led Zeppelin, and they called it them Crooked Vultures. And when they were recording the record, they had cameras rolling. And Dave Grohl went off the deep end with the caffeine addiction, and they ended up making a little video on YouTube that went viral called Fresh Pots. And he actually had to go to the doctor. He actually had to go to the doctor and kind of get off the caffeine addiction. And then 10 years later, they did this great video called Fresh Potics, which is, the alternative to caffeine. And it was quite funny. But I showed you that video before we started today because you hadn't seen it. And that's what you remind me of, sir. The amount of caffeine that you go through. And I'm have too much caffeine today. So I'm trying to follow your lead. It's too much. I can feel it coursing through my veins.
I have lived life caffeinated and not caffeinated, and I learned one thing. There's not a single benefit to not being caffeinated. And if there is, I don't want to know about it.
Yeah, but there's this. I get it. I understand it is a stimulant, and I am also a nicotine advocate. I love the fact that they have been able to extract the nicotine from the tobacco because the tobacco is the harmful part, and now you can just get the nicotine. It's a stimulant. I think it is a wonderful natural drug. That and caffeine, those to me are wonderful, but there's got to be boundaries for everything, right?
I find it gets the best performance out of me, though. Like the old saying, a hungry lion hunts best.
Yeah, but you can't. You got to find the right balance. Going too much just doesn't do any good for you. Your body's telling you, yeah, giving me more. But that's where the addiction comes in.
I'll do this. Your entire life, you're trained, okay, you got to have carbohydrates, nice big meal, 2-3 hours beforehand. I think I perform my best when I've had a little bit to eat, I'm borderline hungry going into the game, and I'm functioning off of multiple coffees. Like, I'm literally drinking coffees during the game. One coffee after the first intermission, another after the second intermission, and then my caffeine drinks during the game that I have in my water bottle. I'm flowing, and I'm feeling good. Like the old saying goes, a hungry lion hunts best.
Well, we've talked about this before, and I come from a generation where we would carb load before a game, which, looking back, just seemed silly at the time. And
who came up with that, though? Was that teams that came up with that, or that was just what you were told by your parents?
Well, no. I mean, it was more so the teams, the team meal. All right, make sure to get, let's get some lasagna. Let's get some spaghetti. They would carb load before a game. Carb loading is good. Carbs are good, especially when you're a high-performance athlete, but it has to be done at the right times and to kind of sustain that level of performance. And the nicotine and the caffeine absolutely help with that, being a stimulant, but it has to be used at the right times. I've talked about this before, but I would see guys in the locker room popping ephedrine, like handfuls of pills of ephedrine to get their heart rate up and everything and perform higher. But a lot of these guys that did that are paying the price now. I can think of two off the top of my head, and I won't mention their names, that have had heart problems in their 40s and their 30s because of, I think, the amount of ephedrine they are taking. So we're still learning. I'm sure there'll be a new diet 10 years from now. We're like, now this is the one. We're learning as we go along, but I get it. Absolutely, it's a stimulant. Absolutely, it's a performance enhancer, but there's a limit where it starts becoming an impediment rather than an addition to your performance.
I love the red meat. The red meat, the caffeine, that's all I need to perform and feel good. Like, if I could have morning skate, which I guess will be evening skate this season in Spain, but not eating until like 3 or 4, maybe 5, just having a nice, real big, thick steak.
Technically, and I thought about this since last week's episode, it'll technically still be morning skate in North America.
Yes, with the time change.
Yeah,
exact same time.
You just got to stay on the North American schedule in order to pull that off.
So we're playing games at...
morning games.
Yeah, I guess noon. I love afternoon games. I don't think there's anything better than an afternoon game. You get up, first thing, that's all you're doing. You're getting prepared. You go to the rink for 10, warm up, on ice warm ups at 11:30, puck drop at noon, out of there by 3. That's a good day.
I love that about baseball. They'll usually do, like in a 3-game set, they'll do 2 evening games, and the third game is usually a matinee, so you can go jump on the plane after. But, oh my God, matinee baseball, the best.
Do you like playing in the afternoons for hockey?
So very similar. We would play back-to-back games on the road where we'd play a Saturday night and then a Sunday afternoon, so we could get back on the bus and back to our home on Sunday night in the wee hours of the morning. But yeah, it was always tough getting up on the Sunday. But once you got to the rink, it didn't really matter what time it was. But yeah, I like afternoon games.
There's something too about walking to the rink when the sunlight's out.
Agreed. And walking out and having sunlight, it's great.
Especially the walking out part. It was kind of depressing though in Sweden. You'd have an afternoon skate at 3. You show up there at 1, the sun's already gone.
Right.
But in Spain, it might be a little bit different. Actually, no. 7 p.m., skate.
I think where you are in Spain, you're going to see about 12 to 13 hours of daylight over the winter, and that's about it. So it'll be like 6 a.m. to 6 p.m. is when you're going to get sunlight.
Yeah, we're about the same latitude, I guess is what Winnipeg would be. It was crazy though. Sweden and Finland, Denmark, all that stuff is like Iqaluit,
Mm-hmm.
like latitude-wise.
Yeah, so you're getting like 5-6 hours of sunlight a day.
Less, not even
less
than 3.5, 4.
Oof.
Sunrise is at like 9:30, gone by 1:30.
Yeah, so I mentioned this before, but I grew up in northern Alberta, and in the summertime, we got light till like 11 o'clock at night, 11:30, and then it would get bright out again at like 3 o'clock in the morning. But in the wintertime, it was the exact opposite. You get first period if you like you got it if you were on time for first period in school, it was still dark out, and if you missed the first bus after school, it was dark out by the time you got home.
Man, in the summertime, that takes the whole early and often to a whole new level.
Absolutely.
Early and often.
Mm-hmm.
I'm excited for the bus trips. We got some bad news, though. The team in Barcelona did fold for this season. Ran out of money.
Oh, bummer.
Yep. This is the way minor pro hockey works. Teams run out of money. They fold. See you later. So it's going to be a 7-team league this season.
Okay. All right. Hey, room for improvement. It happens. Happens in the NHL. Happens in the professional ranks. Happens everywhere.
No, sorry. 9 teams down to 8. No, sorry. Is it 8 down to 7? No, I think it's 8 down to 7. So it's 8 down to 7. We have 7 teams. Mm-hmm. 3 don't make playoffs. 4 do. It'll be 2 teams, then to the final.
Hey, as the Trashers proved, just because your team folds doesn't mean they die. They can live forever in infamy.
What a documentary. Do you watch the documentary yet?
I haven't watched the doc. I watched the interview that you did on their channel on the Trashers with AJ and the other gentleman's name who's
Diamond Hands?
No.
Brody Trew.
Brody Trew. Yeah, I thought that was great. Wonderful candor of the show. I think you guys had a great conversation. I think they painted you to be a little more of a villain than you actually are, because I know you. You're a good guy. We talk about a lot of good stuff, but they just made it sound like you're the most hated guy in hockey, and that's not true at all.
I'm just horrible.
I mean, did I miss something? Because I think I've kind of been in the mix for the past 2 years on all of this. Like, when did you become the most hated man in hockey? That I don't understand.
I think just people in the comment section just talking a bunch of shit, and then a bunch of the comments are negative, and so he's got to be hated if there's negative comments. But we talked about this in private, I don't know how many times, but if you get the message that I'm trying to get out there, that I'm not anything special, I'm just a big dude who's got some passion and never really took no for an answer, you can do anything. If I can do it, so why can't you? Because you're probably better than me. It's a message that I think resonates with a lot of people that are willing to do that work, but if you're not willing to, you hate it because that mirror ain't so pretty when you're reflecting it back. Yeah, that's just my opinion, what I see.
I just don't get the like when he introduced you as the most hated man in hockey. I said, "What happened? Like, did you do something? What happened? Like, I thought I missed something."
Not that I know of.
I mean, listen, I know we can say some things that are somewhat controversial on the show when it comes to the game of hockey and whatnot, but the word hated, I think, was a little strong.
Very polarizing climate.
Polarizing, I think, is a great word, but hated, I think that was a bit of a stretch.
I had a good time on the show, though. I thought we had a really good conversation.
Show. It was a great show. I'm actually looking forward to the because you and Brody ended up doing some content. Yeah, What'd you do?
We did a shootout, best of 7 to 7 games. So best of 7 individual game, and then those are the best of 7. And I am.
Don't spoil it. Don't spoil it. No, I don't want to know. I don't want to know.
Can I just say that I'm excited to have everybody see the finished video?
I'm excited to see the finished video. When is it out?
Should be sometime in October. I don't know. He's got a whole lot of videos to edit because he did a whole series. I think he's doing, that Coach Chippy guy?
Yes.
You ever seen him? He's like, yeah, Betsy, toe drag sauce or whatever. Toe drag release. That's what he does. He did a video with him. He did a video with a bunch of other guys. Yeah, there's a whole little one-on-one series.
Good.
I anticipate ours will do very well.
I'm looking forward to it. Yeah, I'm very much looking forward to it.
That makes 2 of us. But it was a nice little trip, too, to do before I head out to Spain. So I'm excited for Spain. We talked about it before. The wine city. Lograno, known for the best wine in Spain.
But you're not a drinker.
I'm not a drinker. But that's okay.
Are you going to be?
I'm going to be drinking coffee, a whole lot of it.
Wait, now listen, going under the old adage of when in Rome, do as the Romans do. So will you at least, I think it's almost kind of like you have to drink wine with meals there. I think you kind of have to.
Nope, coffee.
I think you kind of have to.
I don't think I'll have another drop of alcohol in my body for the rest of my life.
But I think if it pairs well with the meal and you're just sipping at it to enjoy the meal more, you're not sitting there and like pounding back bottles and bottles of wine, but if it's something to complement the meal, would you not at least consider it? And I'm not pushing you to drink. I get your stance on that. But there very much is a cultural thing in Spain, and especially in places like that where it's like, if you're not drinking the wine, then what are you doing here?
I'm sure there is, but more for you, more for everybody else around me.
All right. Like I said, I'm not trying to peer pressure you. I'm just saying, you're in like one of the wine places in the world.
Well, trust me, I know what peer pressure looks like. I remember some of the bus trips in Motor City. Those guys were relentless. Come on, Trav, just have a drink with us. Come on, just have one. Guys, I'm fine. Come on, just have one.
Because they want to see if they can break you, right? And once they break it, then they got you.
Well, they tried. It didn't work very well. I'm literally probably not going to have another drop of alcohol for the rest of my life because I don't see an advantage to it. I get the best version of myself when I'm not drinking. It saves money. It saves bad decisions. It saves calories. There's so many calories in alcohol.
There's a difference between having a drink and drinking. Okay, and I'll put it to you this way. There's actually science behind this out of the University of Manchester, I believe, where they said that having a beer after an athletic endeavor, like a game of hockey or a footy match or whatever it may be, between the carbonation and the alcohol thinning out your blood a little bit actually does a really good job. Just one, like we're not talking like a boat, like an entire keg, but having a beer or two after a game actually helps with your recovery a little bit better because between the carbonation and the alcohol, it moves things through your system a little bit quicker and gets the new blood into those areas that need to go. So I'm just saying, there is science behind it. I'm not saying getting drunk is going to help, but I'm saying a couple beer after the game has shown in small case studies is beneficial.
Since when did you become a science guy?
Oh, I've always been a science guy. I'm not,
You know who the GOAT is? Bill Nye the Science Guy.
Bill Nye the Science Guy, not a PhD, made his career on PBS doing Bill Nye the Science Guy, watched it as a kid, and very, very smart guy. Very smart dude.
Best moment in elementary school was when the teacher would wheel out the wheelie TV stand.
100%.
Hear the
as
you're rolling down the hallway.
Yeah, we see you go down the hallway. Please go into 3B. Please go into 3B. Oh, what a
Bill.
Bill Nye the Science Guy.
Science rules.
Yeah, that was a great show, man. It was a great way to introduce science to kids because it's a tough one to try and push through sometimes. I know that was a great show.
I think on one of the bus trips in Motor City, we watched a lot of Ted. Watched a lot of Slapshot, doing the signature hockey movies. I think one of the guys put on a whole season of Bill Nye the Science Guy one time on a trip to Delaware.
Nice.
I swear, I'm getting flashbacks now. Wow, good time.
I think honestly, this generation, like the new generation growing up, their Bill Nye is a guy by the name of Mark Rober, who's a YouTuber. He's a former NASA engineer, and my kids are subscribers to the Crunch Labs, and so once a month they get a shoebox. And they get to put that together, and they think like an engineer, and I think it's brilliant. I love what Mark Rober... Mark, you're doing great. Your 10 million subscribers show that. Keep it up.
You know, they probably could have had Mark working on some of the team buses in the Fed. They could have used that guy. I remember, this might be one of the best bus stories. I think I told you this one before, but first ever bus trip in Motor City. We're waiting outside the rink. We're waiting for the bus guy to show up. He's about an hour late. We're like, where is this guy? He's nowhere to be seen. He turns up, pulls in the parking lot. All right, let's go, fellas. We get all of our shit on the bus. We pack it up. All right, let's go. We're going to be late for warm-ups. He turns around the parking lot. He runs out of gas. This guy showed up late. He knew he had no gas and still was going to try to go through with it. And then he tried to argue with us that, oh, no, it's just the battery. It's the battery. Dude, you're out of gas. Look, it says E. We need to rip off all the equipment off the bus and then go in individual trucks there.
I remember you telling me that story.
Yeah. Ever tell you about the hole in the roof?
No.
Oh, I swear I told you about the hole in the roof story.
Do tell.
Anyway, we did the midnight trip. It was Motor City to Watertown, about 10 hours-ish. And I remember they sent an email that day, hey, just wear your tracksuit, that's it, and we'll take care of everything else at the hotel. And so, because I'm a rookie, I'm sitting in the middle of the bus-ish, and as we start going, I feel this breeze, and I'm like, what the hell, it's freezing. I look up, there's a hole in the roof of the bus.
Like how big a hole are we talking?
About this big.
Okay.
So, you're on the video version, about that
about
big.
The size of an apple, all right.
Yeah, about give or take.
Okay.
And so, but you're cruising down the highway at 80 and 90 kilometers an hour. That's freezing. There's a lot of wind coming in there.
Sure.
We're end of October-ish. And so...
It's called the skylight, Travis.
It's freezing outside. And so I put on like 3 pairs of socks, every piece of clothing that I brought on the trip, and I just can't get warm. I'm freezing. And then we got to McDonald's in the morning, and all the guys were like, you guys notice it was freezing? Yeah, some guys' toes are like starting to turn different shades. You can't feel them. Everybody's red. It was...
Make it look mean.
What an intro to minor pro hockey.
Yeah, well, listen, man. Sometimes you got to make cuts in unusual places to make the circus go, right?
You got any good bus stories? Any good bus experiences?
Too many. We broke down in the middle of nowhere one time. Had to have another bus come pick us up. We hit an owl one time that took out our entire front window where the driver looks out of him, and so we had to have a spotter look out the other window. Man, oh man, yeah, we had.
Wait, hold on. So the driver can't see, so he's driving, but somebody else is telling him what they do see.
Yeah.
It's almost like out of Toy Story 2 and Rex and Slinky are driving the car.
100%. Yeah. Turn left, turn right.
No, your other left.
No, it was like the entire window on the driver's side was just spider web, like the entire thing, and there was feathers sticking out of it. Like we hit a big owl, like a big one.
How big?
I would say the thing's probably a 30-pounder.
Wow.
That was a big boy. Big boy. Well, I'll have to get out and look at it, obviously. Yeah. That was a big owl. And
Guys, take a look.
I don't know if it saw the headlights and saw the hooters and thought it was a big owl or something. I don't know.
Sponsored by Hooters.
Actually, okay, so there was a spot. Oh, what was the name of it was this little stop on our way if we had to go hit Southern Alberta. It was the home of the free throw championships, the Alberta free throw championships, but it was a convenience store called Hooters. It wasn't the restaurant Hooters, but we always said, we're stopping at Hooters on the way there. We just thought we were the coolest, right? It was a convenience store. It wasn't the actual restaurant, but yeah, good old Hooters. John Daly sponsor for a long time on the PGA Tour.
Really?
Oh, yeah.
He wear like a Hooters shirt?
He wore a Hooters sponsorship, yeah.
He's a legend.
Oh, he absolutely
He's still
is.
just plugging away.
Mm-hmm. God love him. Great book, by the way. My Life in and Out of the Rough. Great book.
When did that come out?
Oh, geez. 20 years ago?
Put that on the to-do list.
Yeah. One chapter called All of My Exes Wear Rolexes.
Ooh,
great book.
Yes, you did mention them on the show.
Mm-hmm.
I heard this one story. Well, I didn't hear the story, but equipment managers are special, right? To put it nicely, like if you're an equipment manager for a pro hockey team, you're usually a little bit different upstairs. And I mean, I'm a little bit different just to be a goalie.
You're
but
a goalie, yeah.
If you're an equipment manager, you're a little bit something different. Maybe somebody got dropped in like a dishwasher as a kid or something. But so equipment managers are different. And so this one equipment manager, for whatever reason, he was taking this one lady out to the parking lot, and after hours in the arena parking lot. And I guess some of the fans ended up seeing it and calling into the team like, hey, the EQ is, out the parking lot doing that. Okay, do you know who? Yeah, it's like a red Suburban, whatever. Apparently it's one of the season ticket holder's wife.
Oh, no.
So then the GM and the president get word of this. They talk to the equipment manager. Dude, you're fired. And so they didn't have a single guy to sharpen skates the rest of the season.
Oh, no. Oops.
You imagine that.
Well, listen, when you sign up for season tickets, you expect special treatment, right?
Your wife.
Either Sidney Crosby drops off your tickets at your door, or you get a crack with the equipment manager. Same.
And he crushes your wife in the parking lot.
Ooh, best seat in the house. Just saying.
Saddle up the old baloney pony. Section 202.
Wow. She needed her skate sharpened.
I love doing this podcast. I'm so happy I can still play hockey for a job.
Listen, I'm excited that we're about to hit the regular season, and not only the National Hockey League, but all of the subsequent leagues. And yeah, man, we're back in fall. Pumpkin spice lattes are rolling. The hockey gear is coming out. That stink that comes out of the basement if the gear doesn't air out properly. It's all fall smells to me. I love it.
But if your basement stinks, it starts with a great pair of underwear to fix it. That's the only way to fix it. And so it starts with the team at Sheath Underwear. Sheath Underwear has the greatest underwear money has ever bought. They got this bamboo mesh. It's cooling and comfortable. They have the dual pouch. It separates everything in the way that it needs to be compartmentalized. And if you're out on the job site, you're getting sweaty. Maybe you're sitting at home on the couch. You got to peel your thing off the side of your leg. Sheath fixes all that. And listen, you're listening to the podcast. Maybe you're watching. You're saying, I don't know if I buy this. Well, we're going to make it easier on you. You're going to get 20% off the best underwear money can buy. You just go to the link in the video description, click that sheathunderwear.com link, and use the code BIZKIT, BIZKIT. Will get you 20% off the greatest pair of underwear money has ever bought and ever will buy, only at Sheath. Trust us. It's the best.
I like the way you wound up the gear before you did those modeling shots. Well done. That's a veteran move. You know what I'm saying.
I wound up the gear?
Yeah. You wound it up a little bit.
Yeah. A little fluffing.
Yeah. Good job.
You mow the grass, the tree looks bigger.
You got to show well, man. You got to show well. Excellent job.
Thank you very much. You know who could probably use a pair of Sheath underwear? Is R.A. from Chiclets.
How's he doing? Like, seriously, honest question. Yeah. I'm not trying to be a troll here. How's he doing? Is he back on the show?
Yeah, so I know we shit on him a little bit in the summer. This is actually some really good news, and I'm really happy to see this, that apparently he's getting some help. Going through a nasty divorce. And Can we
just recount the story really quickly? So R.A. is one of the hosts of the Spittin Chickens podcast. It's the biggest hockey podcast in North America, in the world probably. And he was the non-hockey guy. But he got himself into a little hot water during the Stanley Cup Finals in the spring.
It was kind of the whole playoffs. He was getting juiced out of his mind, just acting like a bozo nonstop in the Edmonton series, in the, I think it was Florida Rangers series, a bunch of different series.
Yeah.
And he's just making them look bad. And then when the Panthers ended up winning the Cup, he was shitting on the Panthers all series. Mm-hmm. Go Oilers, woo. He's wearing his Oilers shirts and Oilers jerseys. And then he goes down and celebrate with the Panthers, and they basically tell him to go you know where. And he was pissed off and upset about that, and then ended up going on a rant on the show. We don't care about these guys. We don't need them. Like, as you mentioned, way to bite the hand that feeds you.
Right. And listen, we had some very choice words about that. And then shortly after that, I don't know if he was removed from the show or if he removed himself from the show, but he was off the show. And you had mentioned that he's getting help. So I'm curious to know after the summer, is he back on the show? Like, how's he doing?
Yeah, because Biz and Whit were basically like, this guy needs some help. We love him. He's our founding father. So he's going to go get some help. To what degree, I don't know, but I just wanted to say on the show that it's good to see that because they are an important piece of the community. Like, our podcast is what it is because they carved out the whole podcast niche. Granted, we are the second most watched YouTube hockey podcast behind them. Don't forget about that. But it's good to see. And I also don't see a lot of talk about this. You see a lot of like relationship stuff out there, but as far as like men going through divorces, because the dude was married to his wife, I think, for like 20, 30 years. I mean, how many NHL guys go through that stuff in silence?
Oh, just human beings in general.
I mean, if you think about it in the grand scheme of things, you go through a divorce, the woman leaves the man 8 times out of 10 nowadays, 9 times out of 10 if she's university educated. I don't know if his wife or ex-wife now is. But to think she's just pulling the rug out from under you, you got to feel a little bit upset about that, even the most stoic of dudes. And that's going to shake things up in person, right?
Dude, a breakup is never easy, as you and I both know. But I honestly think it gets harder as you get older because, I don't know how long the relationship was. I don't think he's a spring chicken by any means. But based on his age or his appearance, I would assume he's probably my age or if not older.
I think he's like mid-50s.
Okay, yeah,
50s.
so definitely older than me. And that's not easy, man. I mean, look, you're on the back 9 of your life, and now you're alone. I mean, that sucks. I mean, that's not easy on anybody. And I just think it gets harder as you get older. So, my heart goes out to him. I hope he got the support that he needed, and I hope he comes back better and stronger. And yeah, all the best to them.
Well, especially too, like and this is just my observation, as the chick, she's got all the options right away. And for him, it's like, well, I don't mean to be rude. You're shaped like a pear. You're maybe not the coolest guy out there. Yeah, you have the status of the podcast, but you're really in a bad spot to pick yourself up. You're going to take it really hard, right? Not maybe different analogy I should use on that one. But
listen, in the grand scheme of things, I hope he got the help that he needed, and I hope he comes back better. But when it comes to recovery, some people take longer than others, and I just hope that he's mentally safe, and that's the best. I've never met the guy before. I hope one day we cross paths. I'd be more than happy to shake his hand. But I hope he got the help that he needed.
Just take a page out of your book, writing his number on the back of big ATM slips.
Oh, jeez,
you got to retell that story.
This was in my younger days, a lifetime ago, if you will.
Hi, Candace.
Back when I was in college and I was a single man, and keep in mind this is back before cell phones were just, everyone had them. Like, hey, what's your number? You punch it into your phone. This is before, I didn't have a cell phone at the time. And so what I would do is when I would meet women at the establishment or a nightclub or whatever, I would say, well, hey, let me write down my number for you. And what I did is I had a handful of receipts in my pocket that came out of the ATM. Not my account. What I would do is whenever I went to an ATM, because I was a college student, I was poor as shit. But in the wastebasket right next there would be people that would take it out and just put it in the wastebasket. So I'd go through those and I'd find one that had a really healthy balance. Like I'm talking like a really healthy balance on it. And I'd always write it on the back of that. Hey, I'm Dave. Here's my number. And it's amazing how many phone calls I got back when I handed those out. Crazy. Oh yeah, so I got a spare piece of paper right here. Yeah, no problem. It was like half crumpled up. Like here you go.
You already wrote the number down?
Yeah, it was already pre-written. Yeah. Here you go. Like candy.
Hey, shoot or shoot. Sprinkle the irons hot, right?
Listen, man. You got to do what you got to do.
You have hot laps back in the day?
Yeah, absolutely. You'd be sitting there at the bar, and all of a sudden you're like, all right, go for a hot lap. See what we can find.
No. Hockey hot laps.
Like in the bar?
No. Oh. Have we never talked about hot laps in the show before? I feel like we have. Maybe we haven't. So if you don't know, hot laps are one of the greatest things in all hockey. I think they might be in junior, definitely college, absolutely in pro hockey. Hot laps, morning skate at 11, guys hopping the ice at 10:50. We shoot the pucks around, 11 o'clock, everybody goes around the circle, cap in the middle. And we ask, does anybody have any hot laps? And so basically, if you were busy last night, you give us a hot lap. Now, your girlfriend doesn't count, has to be a new player. And so we wait, look around, anybody gets up, and here's the best part. Somebody gets up, oh, yeah, Wheelsy's getting up. Now the anticipation. Does he take his helmet off or no? Because if he took the helmet off, he didn't use protection. If he keeps the helmet on, he used protection. Now, so usually the guy will give you 2 or 3 slow strides. Helmet's off. And then we get really, 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 really loud. but he keeps the helmet on. We still get loud, but not as loud. And then we give him a nice little tap, nice little salute as he gives us a lap. I remember in Mississippi, though, last year, there was a stretch for about 10 days where we're looking around. Anybody got any hot laps? For whatever reason, nobody had hot laps. But when one guy finally had a hot lap, we went nuts. We were so happy. Anybody got hot laps? The one guy gets up. We lost our shit. We blew the roof off the Coliseum. I wonder...
We did a similar version of that in the locker room. We called it Never Have I Ever. And so if somebody would stand in the middle and say, I have never done blank, and if anyone has, they'd have to stand up. And it was like a game of musical chairs, and who was ever left up at the beginning had to continue the game. So similar content, but just a different way of doing it.
You think the NHL has hot laps?
I'm sure they have versions of it.
Because they have the media watching morning skate. So I wonder if the media sees they're stretching at center and one guy gets up to give him a lap and they'll salute him if they know about that. Or maybe they're just like quiet about it. Oh, yeah, okay, yeah, Brock had a fun night last night.
Like I said, I'm sure there's different versions of it.
I'd be curious to know. I'm very curious.
Inquiring minds want to know.
Leave a comment down below. Do you think the NHL does hot laps? I would love to know. If you have a hot lap story, well, no, but don't put it in the comment section. You'll get us flagged. Shrimping's good down there.
I do appreciate the fact that there are some traditions that have stood the test of time, and I'm glad to see some of them go the way of the dinosaur. I do find it really interesting now because, you talked about the bus earlier, bus trips and whatnot, but I really think the idea of everyone watching the same movie together is lost because everyone's going to watch whatever they want on their phones, right? You throw the headphones on, you throw the headset on, and I can watch YouTube while you're reading a book or that person's watching a movie. We had 3 TVs on the bus, and we all watched the same thing. It was usually a version of Slapshot, or we'd go rent some movies. Forrest Gump was always a big one on there, but everyone watched the same movie together, and I think in a weird way it was camaraderie, and I think a little bit of that is lost.
I don't know. In the bus trips that we had, yeah, we go to bed when we go to bed, but when the movie goes on, usually 90% of the guys, myself included, are watching it. Because I enjoy watching the movies, and also we throw on Goon or Slapshot, even though we've seen the movie 1,000 times, there's like a nostalgic vibe to it. I always remember doing road trips for Winnipeg AAA. We put on Goon, we'd be going over the Arlington Bridge to head out to Thunder Bay. That's a good time, good memories. And even in pro, we're doing a road trip from Mississippi down to Georgia. We're doing a road trip from Motor City to Watertown. Like, those are good times. I enjoyed that quite a bit. I know some guys don't like the movies, but I love it.
As far as, and I'm curious to know, we didn't touch on this last week, but when you travel, what is the hotel situation? Are you back in your own bed the same night? Do you do overnight trips?
I don't think we're doing any hotels now that Barcelona folded, the Barcelona team. I think it's just straight bus trips. So we'll head down there, and then we'll be back on our bed before the sun rises.
Interesting.
Or within the same night, depending on.
Are you going to miss that?
Yeah, the hotels are fun. I think that's kind of cool to find your roommate for the season or your hotel guy.
Yeah.
Different. Actually, this is a great story, too. So I had a roommate my first year in the Fed. He was a really good guy. Second roommate that I had, this guy was actually deaf. So I think that being good roommates, especially in a hotel, is all about compromise. Like, what time are we going to go to bed? What do we want to eat? Stuff like that. Being respectful of one another. This guy was literally deaf, like legally deaf. And he had to have the TV on to go to bed. And so he'd have it on full blast, like level 75. And I'd tell him, I'd be like, fella, can we turn the TV off? And he couldn't hear you. It was almost like, in Forrest Gump when he's yelling at Lieutenant Dan and he can't hear him. Same thing. I have to get up and get in his face and be like, can we turn the TV off? It's bedtime. Morning skates at 7, fella.
So you read lips is what you're telling me.
Me or him?
No, obviously him if he's deaf.
Well, he could hear. You just had to yell. Like legally deaf.
Gotcha.
Yeah. That might be the worst roommate I've ever had in pro hockey history.
I had one that he could not go to sleep at a decent time. Like, it was like 1 or 2 in the morning, and would get bored and throw shoes at the door and just be that dick.
That's the worst.
Yeah. Looking at you, Quentin.
It's hard to find that match, but if you can find that match, it's a really good combination, though.
Yeah, finding good roommates tough, man. I always got stuck with the goalies back in the day.
Oh, and here you are doing a podcast.
I can't get away from these guys. I tried. I tried.
You had the PWHL you wanted to talk about? I'll let you take this one.
Okay, listen. PWHL, congratulations to the Toronto Scepters, who...
They have a name? They're naming the teams now?
They all have names. And that's I said this when they were going. I love the fact in their first season that there was no team names. It was just New York, Minnesota, Montreal. I loved it. I thought it was Boston. Who do you play for? Boston. What's the team name? Boston. I loved it. And I prayed that they stuck with it. They ended up going with team names. I don't think there was a right way to go with the names. I mean, the Toronto Scepters, the Montreal Victoire, the Boston Rush, the Minnesota Frost or Freeze. I can't remember which one it is. I don't know.
No, you do know. The names suck. Should have just left the cities.
I agree. Like, go with a really cool color scheme. But listen, I'm not running the place. I get it. But I know you need to go for. I mean, logos would have been cool. Like, put a logo on, but just no team name. Just New York, Boston. I just thought that was so unique, and I thought it was really cool. And I wish they would have stuck with it. But here we are. We have names now.
So apparently, they had a $50 million loss last season. Like, overall, all the teams combined, they lost 50 sheets.
How is that sustainable then?
It's not. So this is my question, though. So if the PWHL loses $50 million in one season, but the NHL is funding it, is that a plot for them to just shuffle money from one pocket to the other and expenses?
Okay, well, you also have to keep in mind a lot of those were probably shuffled under startup fees, so it was investment money. You're not really expected to make money in your first few years of doing a business, anyways. So I think if they're not in the black by year 4, maybe there'll be a different conversation about either expanding the league or doing what they have to do. I think they're willing to take a loss like this. As long as the loss is less this year, I think they're still okay to keep moving forward. They are being subsidized by the NHL the same way that the NBA, WNBA, is being subsidized by the NBA. So I understand that. I get it. But, yeah, the $50 million, that's more than I expected, to be honest.
That's a lot of cash.
I know that they're not... Listen, if you're going to a PWHL game in Boston, you're not paying the same price that you are to see the Bruins.
You know what a ticket goes for?
I don't think it's any more than, and I'm speculating here, but from what I understood, they were very affordable. It's like, hey, bring the family. You can bring them all. You could bring the entire family to a PWHL game for the chance, for the equivalent of what it would cost for one seat to go see an NHL game.
So $25 a ticket?
From what I understand, they were very affordable rather than paying $100.
And they got 20,000 people in the stands?
I don't know if it was. I think they were selling out. I don't think they were quite selling out in Minnesota until they got to the finals. But throughout the regular season, they had solid crowds.
So they're in 50% capacity. Just doing some math on the fly. That's $250,000 of revenue every single game.
Plus the concession.
Yep. 50-50, merch.
Again, I am not a CPA. I don't know the ins and outs. I can barely keep money in my wallet, for crying out loud, so I'm not going to sit here and throw stones in a glass house. But I'm sure somebody, one of the bean counters there, is good saying, hey, we're on track. Things are good. Let's keep going. Yeah, now that they got merchandising available with the logos, I mean, that I get.
Yeah, I wonder where they go with that, because if you're making $250,000 every game in revenue, yeah, you got to pay for the arena, maybe $20,000. You got to pay the staff, all your players. I wonder if they're paying the players too much, in all seriousness. I know they complain that they don't get enough money, but when you're starting at the minimum of $40,000, $50,000 a year to play for the team, all the way up to $200,000 for some of the better players, real good money, you're going to go broke real quick if you're only charging that kind of money for tickets.
Well, and that's the thing, that players have to understand that you're not going to be making millions of dollars in the PWHL. I think they're probably going to get to a situation where the NCAA finally had to compromise and say, okay, if we are selling jerseys in our merch booth and your name is selling more, you're going to get a chunk of that. I think that's absolutely within the realm of possibility with the PWHL. But I think Bill Burr said it really well when he was talking about the WNBA, saying this isn't on us. Like, it's not on us. Don't turn around and blame the fans and point the finger saying you didn't support us. Come up with a good product. Yeah. The product, vote with your wallet. The product speaks for itself. Period.
Well, and if you're tight on cash as a family, it does help that the tickets are cheaper. But if you're looking to be entertained, you're going to go with the best possible product. And I would argue that it's not that.
Well, look, even here in Manitoba, we have the Winnipeg Jets, and that's the big ticket item. You'll see a lot more families going to Moose games because it's in the same arena. It's the same color scheme. And when your kids are young and they just want to go see hockey and jump up and down, it's a lot more family friendly. So absolutely, you got to vote with your wallet on that one.
Do you see the Antonio Brown quote about the WNBA?
No.
Again, I'm quoting him, but Antonio Brown says,
boy, here we go.
The WNBA is just a charity for lesbians. And I thought... it instantly made me think of the PWHL. I'm not pointing fingers. I'm just quoting Antonio Brown. Just some food for thought. I hope they do well.
Me too. Look, I think eventually they will expand. Like, they're calling them the inaugural 6, not the original 6. They're calling them the inaugural 6. And I think eventually Winnipeg will get a team. I think eventually Edmonton will get a team. I think you'll see them expand throughout northern U.S. and a lot of these. I think Saskatoon will probably get a team, maybe Regina. And I think the team probably could get up to 20 teams in their league. And I think that would be great. I think that would be wonderful. As long as it's sustainable, as long as they're covering their bills. I love the fact that they're using YouTube rather than going to a major network. Go to YouTube. I think it's great. Offer that up. I mean, they're getting some solid viewership.
You were saying, what, 10,000 people a game? Live?
Yeah.
They're not making any money, but it's good for growing it.
Absolutely. Selling your merch and whatnot, we're talking about it right now, and we're giving it a good segment on it, too. I think it's great. If the PWHL came to Winnipeg, you'd be guaranteed that I'd be probably seeing a handful of games throughout the year. Absolutely.
Dear PWHL, I would like to go to a game with my friend Dave Wheeler, and we would love to experience your league. Anywhere you want. What do you think?
Boston.
You want to go to Boston?
I like to go to Boston. I have not seen a game at TD Garden.
I want to go to Montreal.
Montreal is a great place to see
Do they play in the Bell Center?
I don't think so.
Maybe Place Laval, home of the Rocket,
I think
the
so.
AHL team.
I think you're right. Yeah,
I'd go. Hey, they want to take care of us. I would happily go. I would give it an honest go.
Yeah,
the old college try. I'm just really appreciative that I started hockey when I did because it's gotten so outrageously expensive and out of control. I don't know if I'd be able to play hockey if I was born 10 years later.
Yeah,
with the cost, I don't think we'd be here. To be honest with you.
Yeah, I'm with you, man. I'm with you, and I mean, I've pounded this drum before, but I would rather see kids that are at a very sensitive age take the summer off. Like, be excited to go back to play hockey, cross train. I'm not saying you can't play a sport, but play baseball, play soccer, play something. Play something that's going to get your juices flowing. Saying, hey, I'm excited to get back on the ice. Not like I'm on the ice again all year long, 365. You're going to burn out.
Well, I was feeling a little bit of that, especially when I came home last year from Mississippi. But all summer with the hip surgery, I didn't have a chance to skate. Spent all summer traveling, doing the Railway Hotel Series. When that was done and it was time to come back to work, I was excited to get back on the ice. I'm excited right now. I'm excited for the season. I had a little bit of a break. And assuming that I play the full season, and then, actually, I'll give you a little bit of an exclusive here. I was talking to my agent the other day. We should finish the season in Spain, and then we're going to be playing with house money and going to be playing somewhere else to finish the season on top of the Spanish season. It's supposed to be. We'll talk more about that when the time comes because there's quite a bit of time between now and then.
Focus on game one.
Yeah, we got to
That's
play.
where your head needs to be.
Yeah. But when that does happen, and let's say the season finishes in April or May, I'm not going to touch the ice until August.
Right.
Like, I'm going to equipment goes in the garage, not worried about it. I'll be doing some working out and some training on the side, but we'll be traveling, we'll be golfing, we'll be doing other stuff, and then when the season rolls around next year in August, September, all right, I'm excited. I'm ready to go. I totally agree with what you were saying there.
Yeah. I think, and that goes across the board for any sport. Any sport. I mean, there's a reason why people have a certain amount of time off from work. I mean, you can't just do it all the time. You need to give yourself a chance to recharge, and especially at a young age like that, you got to take a break.
You wish your boys were more into hockey?
No.
Why not?
Tua Tagovailoa.
Okay. Glad we had this conversation.
Yeah. No, I'm dead serious. I literally had this conversation not too long ago with my buddy that was in town, my old goaltender. He's like, so your kids aren't in hockey? Like, both his kids. He's got a boy and a girl, both of them in hockey, and he pushes pucks around as an assistant coach. And I said, no. I said, number one, they didn't show a huge interest in it. Like, when I had hockey on or whatever, there's stuff around. Like, sure, they like to pick up a stick and play, in the hallway and stuff, hallway hockey. But as far as throwing on skates, like, they didn't show a huge interest in it. I probably didn't nurture it enough, but I wasn't necessarily going to say, your dad played hockey, so you're going to play hockey. And at the risk of sounding arrogant, I consider myself an above-average intelligent human. And I think
I would agree.
And I think to myself, how much smarter could I have been if I didn't get my bell rung as much as I did? Like, seriously, the whole idea was, I remember specifically one hit that I took where I saw stars. My ankles were like jelly going back to the bench. And the coach comes over and he smacks me on the head and he goes, "You okay?" And I said, "No, I'm not feeling good." And he goes, "Take a couple shifts off and then get back out there." I mean, we knew so little about concussions back then. We know more now, but we still don't know the full extent of it. And so if I can save my kids from taking a few hits to the head, I'm going to do it, man. I'm not taking if they said, "Hey, I want to play hockey," absolutely. I'd be there 100%. And I'd be there supporting them. But you got to take care of your head, man. And seeing guys like Tua, like, it breaks my heart. It absolutely breaks my heart. I've seen too many guys later in life that are having problems now because of the concussions they've had. And I love the game. I love the game, and it is making progress towards keeping players safe. But between my wife and I, we said if they don't want to play hockey, we're not going to force them to play hockey. They play golf, they curl, they're in cadet, they do archery. They're getting all of those social aspects. They're getting that competitive edge. They're doing all the things that would come along with that. They're just doing it with less shots to the head.
Have you noticed that the talent, it seems like, coming up in Hockey Canada specifically has fallen behind the U.S., the Russians, the Swedes, everybody? Have you noticed that? It seems like we're drying up a bit.
I think there is a very concerted effort to funnel knowledge of hockey down to we're all going to play the same way, and this is the way we're going to play, instead of just throwing a puck saying, let's go have some fun and get creative. And I think we're losing a little bit of that creativity. It's more like, do everything the same way and see if you can explore outside of that, but you got to learn this first rather than getting those artists that were out there. So I think we're seeing a lot more of the same player, and we're seeing fewer players really elevate themselves above that really high level that has moved its way up because of this collective. But I think we're seeing less standouts because of it. The quality has gotten better, there's no doubt.
Yeah, overall, the quality's definitely gone up. But I think when you compare Canada to the rest of the world, where we used to be a powerhouse, especially like you look at the goaltending position, because that's obviously where I specialize in, you had the Patrick Waugh, the Brodeurs, the Prices, the Luongos, and now you compare the best, which would be probably Jordan Bennington, Stuart Skinner, and Aiden Hill, to the Hellebucks, the Vasilevskis, the Bobrovskis, the Shesterkins, just the Russians alone, the Swaymans, like we're falling behind. And I said this when we first started doing the podcast a couple of years ago, but I swear, with the scamdemic and them shutting the rinks down for 2 years, there was no competitive hockey, and the U.S. was playing the whole time. The Sweden was wide open, and you couldn't do anything in Canada. You get arrested if you went to go outside and skate. That is what you're seeing right now because these kids couldn't develop. You bankrupted a lot of families that can't afford these incredibly high prices of hockey now, and you're seeing it in the talent pool. There's no real talent coming up in Canada compared to the U.S., to the Russians, the Swedes, the Finns. Everywhere else is getting better, but here.
Yeah, I think you'll be able to see it, and it will definitely have that. It will have a couple of years of what we'll call bad draft years, and we'll see less, and that'll be a direct result, and you'll be able to tie it directly back to those 2 years where everything kind of came to a standstill. So I definitely think you can quantify that through the pandemic for sure. It'll correct itself. It will. It'll correct itself.
I hope so, because we have so much talent here. It's just such a shame to see what's going on. I mean, I'm not knocking Bennington, Hill, or Skinner. They're all world-class goalies, especially JB. I love JB.
Well, look at it this way. When it comes to Canada soccer, we're finally at a place where we're competing consistently on an international level in both our men's and our women's programs. But keep in mind, we've had 100 years of or more of people coming from soccer-rich nations immigrating to this country. We should have been better a lot sooner. The fact that it's taken this long, and we're still not. I mean, we're competitive, but we're not a standout. Like, it's still like, well, it's Canada. You know what I mean? Like, now we're starting to get some respect, but look how long it's taken.
But could I argue you that because they shut down the rinks for those 2 years, you could still go outside, and so they went to go play soccer?
Sure.
Maybe.
Yeah.
Just an idea.
Possible.
But you were able to continue your training with soccer. You couldn't with hockey. So...
Well, you managed to make it work. You found every lagoon or ditch that you possibly could to put skates on.
And then I went to Sweden.
Yeah.
And then I came back and I said, all right, I'm out of here. I'm going back to Sweden.
Yeah, right. Yeah.
I came back. I'm like, I'm going down to the south.
Yeah.
I'm going to the States.
No, it'll correct itself. I'm confident in that.
I hope so, because like I said, it's such a shame. I'm a proud Canadian. And hopefully you can tell from the show. I love my country, and I'm very patriotic. I feel like I was telling you, Dave, before we started recording the show, but the more time goes on, the more I think to myself, God, I'm becoming my dad. My dad was like the most proud Canadian ever, and I'm becoming that. I'm becoming so many things like my dad as time goes on, but not in a bad way at all. Just, apple don't fall far from the tree.
More and more wisdom every day. Yeah, it's not like you aspire to be like that, but as you get older, you realize, oh, yeah.
Well, of course, because like my dad is my biggest hero.
Right.
I mean, everybody's dad is their biggest hero. I mean, my dad has his flaws like everybody else, but
sure.
Yeah,
the trick is recognizing them, right?
Yeah, recognizing the good, recognizing the bad.
And what we'd like you to recognize is that we have a Patreon page that we'd like you to go check out, por favor.
Yeah, there's a link in the video description. You get access to all the episodes early. So when you watch this episode, the patrons have already seen it 4 or 5 days sooner. That's one of the perks. You get access to my trading cards in the last couple of years. We got a whole 8-piece set. It's beautiful. You get merch, whether it's mugs, hats, sweaters, etc. Join. Starts at $5 a month. You help support the show, keep the lights on, and also deleted episodes that you just can't get publicly. They're a little bit too spicy.
And we have been talking a little bit about possibly doing some more Patreon-exclusive episodes, answering questions, maybe doing some possible live streams and some in-video chats and whatnot. So sign up now and enjoy.
You know what we should do? We should do like a Zoom call once a month with the Patreon members and get them all on and just do a Q&A, and then that could be like a Patreon episode where they could check it out later. So if you want to sign up for that, let us know.
Yep.
If you're seeing this on Patreon, let us know what you think as well. Last couple things I have in the notes before we cap off here. Johnny Gaudreau, man, that was tough. That was sad. Him and Luke Bourdon gone way too soon.
I knew Luke. Great guy. Man, oh man, it's just it hurts a lot when they're young. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And in the prime of their career. But it hurts even more when you hear that Johnny Gaudreau had a couple of kids and one on the way. Like, it's gut-wrenching, man. Like, it's absolutely gut-wrenching. And, yeah. And I know this is going to sound weird, but I feel bad for the Columbus Blue Jackets, too. No, I really do. I mean, that he was the cornerstone of that franchise, and they were on the bubble, and they looked like they were trending upwards. And it looked like they're going to be stuck in that in purgatory for another 5 years.
But not to be too dark, though. Maybe that inspires them. Maybe the guys pick up their socks, say, Johnny's passed. We all got to pull a little bit more on the rope here. And it inspires them. But like you said, I do feel bad for the daughters because, man, that's so sad. You got 2, soon to be 3. I don't know what the third one was. It was a boy or a girl, but they're going to grow up never getting to know their dad. And, those same memories that we talk about in the show where, you got 2 boys.
Yeah.
I remember my dad taking me skating for the first time at 4 years old like it was yesterday. Those memories they'll never get to have, and it's so sad, especially the whole family torn apart. And I mentioned it with the episode with AJ.
Yeah, you guys talked about it. Yeah,
that Instagram post that his wife put up, man, that got me feeling a little soft.
Well, the
Beautiful
wife,
post.
I mean, and as a parent, my heart goes out to their sister who was literally getting married the next day. Like, oh my God. I unfortunately had a situation where a dear friend of mine, just after high school, got married. And her brother was murdered a week before she got married. Wow. And they were going to postpone the wedding. And they said, listen, no matter what, every time you try to reschedule it, it's going to bring back those memories. He would have wanted you to go through this. So we had the wedding and we celebrated his life at the same time. And I'm glad we did it because it's never, I mean, I always feel bad for people that have deaths in the family around Christmas time because, in a weird way for them, it ruins Christmas. Mm-hmm. And it's heartbreaking.
No, it does.
Yeah.
Christmas is all about family time. And I talked about this with AJ, and I know we've talked about it privately too, but family is the most important thing you can have in your life. You got $10 in the bank with great family, you're the richest man in the room. You got $10 million and no family, you're the poorest man in the room.
Yeah.
And that's all that matters.
No, it's true, man.
I mean, our friendship, whether it's, me and my dad, you and your dad, all those great memories, family's ultimately the only thing that matters in this lifetime.
I saw a great analogy of a professor that put a big jar in the middle of his class, and he said he filled it up with golf balls. And he said, is the jar full? And they said, yeah. And then he took a whole bunch of pebbles. And he put a whole bunch of pebbles in. He goes, now is the jar full? And they went, yeah, now it's full. And then he grabbed sand and he filled it up. He goes, now is it full? And they said, yes, now it's full. He said, if I was to put the sand in first, I would have had no room for the golf balls. The golf balls are your family. They're your friends. They're your irreplaceables. They go in the jar first. Then it's all the little things after that. But you got to make sure you have the golf balls for golf. But those are the ones that represent the family. And if you're filling it up with all the little things, letting you worry about it, I thought it was a really good analogy. It made a lot of sense.
I think he stole it from Oppenheimer.
Oh, probably.
Yeah, that's an Oppenheimer.
Nice. Yeah,
not to ruin
true.
the nice moment. That's a great analogy, but
yeah,
he stole that. But the best things in the world are stolen, analogy-wise.
But listen, God bless the Gaudreau family and all the Calgary Flame fans and the Blue Jacket fans. Yeah, that was heartbreaking.
Yeah, sad. Thoughts and prayers, but hey, Slangin The Bizkit. We get new episodes every single Sunday at 11 a.m. Eastern, 10 in Winnipeg, 9 in Calgary, 8 in the Pacific West Coast.
What time in Spain?
Shit. It's 11 in Toronto, so add 6.
¿Qué hora en España?
5 p.m. Perfecto, mucho gusto.
Muy bien.
Dave Wheeler, no chismo. Wheeler chismo, no chismo. No chismo.
I just love it. You just got a handful of words. You're just going to run with those for the entire season.
Same thing I did in Sweden. Red Bull Dita Vinga, Jävla Svenska Feta.
Good. See, retention. This is good.
Yeah, the Swedish people are going to comment. I said some really nasty stuff right there.
I have no idea what you said, but I look forward to learning.
It's perfect. I do as well. We're going to learn together, especially as I go through Spain. At the time of this going up, the first game has been played. This is always being recorded because with the time change, the jet lag, the hip surgery, I got other things to focus on for the first game, October 5th. But there should be a link in the video description if you want to watch any of the games. They are live streamed for free.
Yep.
$0, free on the house. You can watch them. They're in Spanish, obviously. So I think you can put the translate thing on to watch all the games throughout the season. But the vlog will continue every single Sunday. The podcast will as well. You can support the Patreon to keep our lights on.
I'm looking forward to the vlog. I really am. I'm looking forward to it. Are you going to catch up in real time, or how close are we going to be?
I think they're both going to be about a week, maybe 2 weeks behind.
Okay.
Although bad news, though, so I broke my drone the other day. I sent it off for repairs. It's going to come back, but there's not going to be any Spanish drone shots for the first little bit.
Okay.
For the first little bit. But I'm getting a new iPhone 16 tomorrow, so I'll use that for all my...
Those things fly, right?
No, they don't, but they got great cameras, and I'm excited for it. Because I've been using the same phone since like 2020, so... Anyway,
cool.
Thank you everybody for listening. Hit the subscribe button if you enjoyed the show. Hit the like button as well. Leave a comment. Me and Dave chat with you in the comments every single week. And next time we see you, I will be on my couch in my living room in Spain, and Dave will still be right here.
Bye.
We'll see you then.